Hey, what is up, guys? Wallow J here. I'm here with my co-host Miguelino. Miguelino, say what's popping to the peoples.
What's popping to the peoples?
Also joining us, he's a dream. He's not even paying attention, but
I'm paying attention.
he's the dream. Stephen Aiken. Say hello, Stephen.
Hello, Stephen. I was paying attention. I was making sure I had my TJ information right here so I could be informed in the right moments, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Hello,
All right,
hello,
right on.
everybody, by the way. Sorry about that.
And joining us, I mean, this is a guy that really doesn't need an introduction. He's, an icon of commentary, combat sports. TJ DeSantis, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, brother.
I'm curious what information Steven has on me and whether or not I have said information myself.
Well, Stephen, go ahead. What information do you have?
No. Let's just talk a little bit. There's nothing to see here.
I thought you were going to tell me like my social security number.
Oh, no.
Or my mother's maiden name, or maybe what the T and the J stand for.
What do they stand for?
Yeah.
They stand for nothing because TJ is my name. They're not initials. Notice there's no periods. My name's TJ. Or if you prefer Tij, because no middle name, no periods. Just capital T, capital J. Technically, I think it's capital T, lowercase j, but I don't like writing lowercase j's. They look weird.
Oh, that's interesting. I
respect that,
Think about it. Like they always say, dot your I's and cross your T's. You dot lowercase j's as well. At least you're supposed to. But I think every time I write a J, it's capital.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
That is.
I was just going to guess Thomas John, but
no. My mom wanted to name me Todd, and my dad wanted to name me Butch, and they settled with TJ. So I think I dodged a bullet.
We're gonna call that shit a win for sure.
Yeah,
that's a good compromise.
So we're here with Butch DeSantis, fresh off of his. It just doesn't work for me. No. I'm sorry.
No, so my dad was like a biker with like long sleeve tattoos, and he looked like Rob Zombie. So I definitely probably would have followed in his footsteps had my name been Butch, but instead they named me TJ, and I'm just some podcast nerd.
That's a radio name for sure.
For sure.
I mean, my name was great until the last name DeSantis became politicized.
We love the shades.
They're not shades. There's no shade. There's no tint here, my friend. These are prescription. I can't read without them.
I'm sorry.
They're visual.
I apologize. The portal.
No. I hear you. I sold these from Sally Jesse Raphael.
Oh my God. That is a 90s reference, if I've ever
it's
heard.
good to talk to you again. I forget these little things. Like last season, you had these little
holy shit
little things. That was nice. Sally Jesse. Wow.
I'm weird. I'm sorry.
No. In the best ways. Like it's really great. I've listened to hours and hours of that wrestling podcast that you referred us to. And
TLF, the lap spin. Yeah.
Like I couldn't tell you how many hours probably at this point I've logged. Just on drives or wherever. This is good.
That's amazing. Yeah. Without TLF, I don't think I'd be able to do what I do for a living. So that's great.
Oh, cool. Well, it's good. So,
Egg, how are we doing? Do we have audio back, or are we still on a delay? We'll get it next week.
I don't know, brother. I mean, I pay for freaking fiber.
Wow, that is impressively bad for fiber optic cable. Man.
This is not an ad for whoever that
wherever it is. I think you just crushed them. I mean, the face right now, I mean, he's so defeated.
Well, he deserves it. Can I tell you why? Because I watched that Grapplers documentary and I watched the credits and I found out what Egghead's real name is, and it just destroyed me. I didn't want to know. Wanted to call him Egg forever, but no, now I know his first name. I'll never acknowledge it.
Don't tell the world.
I'm not going.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah.
But by the
they
way,
can't know. They can't know.
It's an Easter egg.
Listen, so Egg was your counterpart for season 5. How do you grade him for his first time?
Oh, for his first time, phenomenal. Great, awesome. I mean, he's super really good with stats and things. Like that's the thing. To be a stat guy, you have to think outside of the box, right? And he is making calculations in his head and coming up with, I would say, stats that are 98% accurate. Because in the moment, you can't be 100% accurate. There's just too much going on, and he was able to pull some things out that were pretty unflappable, bulletproof, if you will. So that was awesome. It was great, and that's the thing too. Egg, like, he occupies a role that I've never really seen in a combat sports commentary booth before. I mean, sure, the UFC has a huge database. They can tell you significant strikes. I still, after a decade, don't know what a significant strike is and an insignificant strike. If you hit me, that's pretty significant, and I'm not okay with it. But what he's doing, I mean, he's basically making categories up on his own and being accurate and factual, and or at least he says it right, and with confidence, so we can't tell him he's wrong, or we don't have the
It
confidence.
sounds good.
Right. Yeah, it's all in the delivery. You can go wherever you want in life if you go with confidence.
That's what I need, a little confidence like Egg. Good job, Egg. See, you got a future. You got a future in this.
Let's wait 25 minutes for him to respond. I love you, Egg. I'm sorry.
I obviously we were all working, but I had a chance to go back and rewatch the whole season, and I was pretty surprised at the chemistry that you guys had. It was like you had been working together for a long time.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We got how many shows in 7 day period? Like, you're going to learn to mesh really well, or it's just going to be abysmal, and we're probably not going to make it through the week. We made it through the week, so it worked out pretty well.
What did you think about the whole thing? I mean, coming in to small town Decatur, doing this show in a church, the ragtag crew.
I mean,
what were your thoughts?
Speak for yourself.
I honestly didn't know what to expect. BMAC has been talking up the PGF forever, and I've casually paid attention, right? But sometimes a 4-hour combat jiu-jitsu show can drag. Now I'm going into, as you mentioned, small town Decatur, Alabama, with like 5-6 days of nothing but jiu-jitsu ahead of me. I love jiu-jitsu, don't get me wrong, but you can have one match sort of slow everything down and basically make you not want to watch jiu-jitsu anymore. That was not the case. And then going back and watching it in hindsight, like you said, like it plays so well. Like for a long time in combat sports, promotions have tried to do these league concepts and these teams, and it doesn't really work, in my opinion, in MMA, especially with the team concept. Because what are you really, fighting and playing for? But in grappling, when you have this team concept, there's obviously, now even larger stakes up for grabs with this upcoming season, but high stakes for everyone on a team. And then you're simultaneously grappling for a spot in the playoffs. It just works in a way that it otherwise wouldn't in combat sports. Like, can you guys think of a combat sport where you could apply the PGF model to, where it works 1-to-1 like it does in grappling? I just don't see it anywhere.
I don't think anywhere else.
I mean, even with combat jiu-jitsu, I don't think it would work, because if someone gets stopped with a TKO or anything like that,
right,
you're going to screw up everything, right? So, and that's the thing too. Like, say what you want about Handsome Kevin getting, the cucumbers with Bobby, both of them at the spa. The injury factor was something that I really didn't take into consideration. And, maybe you do sit out a day to come back and try to, make up for lost time and things like that. Like that. Brandon says he loves sports, and I'm with him. I love sports too. And sports has drama. Can you have actual drama in a season that's 5 or 6 days long? Apparently you can. And it works out really well, because that's what we saw in season 5.
And you loved it because you pointed it out during the stream,
Yeah.
With the, we have drama. There's behind the scene things that, are bringing that drama in. Steven, you had something you were doing like this with the mic?
Sorry. There's just kind of like two things that I just didn't want to interrupt. One, like the combat jiu-jitsu thing wouldn't work. One, like you said, because of one day of the striking and stuff would be that, but back to back days of potential strikes like that would just, the accumulation would probably just, I don't know, sounds like a terrible idea. Would you like that? And then now I have forgotten once Egg blacked out what my other thought was. It's not your fault. No, I just zoned out again, and it's not your fault.
It's all right. You're probably thinking about a Laps fan memory that you love so much. But
Terry Funk.
Exactly. What I will say is, maybe you could work in wrestling if you had like a freestyle wrestling team, but who wants to watch nothing but wrestling? Because I mean, you could have the same apply to pins as
The submissions.
Right.
Oh, it's the fact that it's the 4 or 5 days condensed together like that, and everybody's stuck together, kind of like on the island, so to say. And you don't get off without having to admit defeat, kind of.
They've got to figure out a way to make that group chat available to the world as well, because that group chat was where all the drama was. That's where everything was building. I loved it so much.
You were in there, right?
I was. I mean, I didn't say anything until the entire season was over, but I was watching it. Every time my phone would vibrate, I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah, those were great. I mean, the call outs between, Nick, Kamoy, everybody chiming in on Kevin for taking the day off. Where did you sit on that one? Because I heard some of the other talking heads, like Steven likes to point, talking about that. Yeah, he shouldn't be let back in, and we're like, but we've always had alternates.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I mean, if you're hurt, you're hurt. You know what I mean? There's a difference between being hurt and injured, I guess, and that's up to the competitor. If you're like injured and not coming back, you should probably just pull out. But if you are hurt and you can, come back maybe a day later, then yeah, go do what's afforded to you.
Egg's got a comment here on the private chat. He said, we had Noah come from the bleachers to the mats due to injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, see, this is a guy that has done a couple of seasons, was sitting in the stands, and we're like, oh, we need an alternate. Tag, you're it. So.
And you know what? That's going to be a story, I think, that is, no offense, of yesteryear. You're getting these high-profile guys coming into season 6 where it's kind of like the old school days of MMA. Like, I remember going to, shows in the Midwest where a guy would get a little bit drunk and lippy to the promoter, and then all of a sudden he'd go home with an 0-1 pro MMA record. That happened in the early 2000s. You could go from the bleachers to in the midst of a season at the PGF in the early years. But now, I mean, everything's changed. Like, are we even going to recognize the PGF in season 6 from season 5? Probably not.
I have no idea. I mean, you see all the talent that's coming in, and I'm like, man, I wasn't expecting this.
I keep texting BMAC. I'm like, do I still have a job? Because this seems way more important than me.
Bro, we're kind of like on the same
You too?
boat.
Yeah.
We're like, are we still in? Am I still the photographer?
Right.
And
listen, I'm not even mad. Like, I get it, right? Like, I understand
yeah.
where you guys are. So if it's not me, that's cool. I still love everybody.
I got an idea. If he fires us, we'll start the PFG, the Professional Federation of Grapplers, and we know the secret sauce.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
We're just overlaying his whole program on top of that one, and we still got
our top would be orange and the bottom would be blue.
Right. This show will be the PFG inside the PFG. Let's go.
365 BJJs. Oh man. No, but I think it's really legit something to think about, though, how it's going to be different in a lot of ways, being, bigger, all around. But one of the things I've thought about is I wonder if it's going to sort of take us back to like the earlier PGF seasons to a degree to where most of the people don't know what they're getting into. And we're going to see some people really struggle when they maybe hit the wall in some of this, and is really, really good, usually has a bad performance or something like that. And then maybe they decide to go home. And I don't even know who I'm thinking about. Nobody specifically. It's just, it happened several times in the first season for sure. That high ranking guys decided to stay home once they got challenged hard by the up and coming guys. So that's one of the things I'm kind of like really looking at closely, is to see if it picks somebody off mentally, more than just like the attrition of the week of grappling.
Well, I think it was Elijah Carlton that brought it up about Handsome Kevin. You know, the guys are running the gauntlet. You got to, continue to run the gauntlet. If you don't, you're not, in it with everyone else. And for a lot of newcomers to PGF, I don't think that they're necessarily ready or expecting that gauntlet, because it's one thing to train every day and you can have some, good rolls, but it's still training. It's different when you have to get up and down, just emotionally and physically in competition. And to do that multiple times over multiple days, it might be a rude awakening for some.
Well, I know Kieran Kachuk at least recognized it, and he's, thinking about that, the whole week.
Yep.
So, but I don't know how the other guys are going to take it. We've had guys come in, do the show, and say, "Oh, I do 10, 12 rounds, every night, and we all go hard." But you're doing 3, and then you're like, "Oh shit, I wasn't expecting this." It's like it's not the same, like you said. So I'm wondering myself, who of these guys is going to have that moment?
That's how champions are made, though, right?
100%.
Egg has a question. He's saying, does TJ have a top 5, 10, 20? So I guess he's asking for your rankings.
Oh
the
no,
season.
I do not have rankings in front of me. That would take an amount of time that I did not prep for this interview. I prepped 0 minutes for this interview, so no.
Oh, bro, this is
Respect.
not an interview. We're just chatting.
Yeah, we're just chatting, man.
Yeah, but when you want a top 10, I mean, that people take offense to that. Like, I worked at SureDog for a really long time, and it's funny how the number 11 welterweight in the world gets upset that you have them at 11 and someone else has them at 9. Those are fighting words sometimes, and yeah, I'm not looking to get choked unconscious because I rushed a top 10 for you guys.
And so that's kind of the thing I was sort of looking at when we first started, was about the SureDog radio days. When did that kind of start for you? Because it is interesting, and I've thought a lot that the PGF in the last recent bit is like the early 2000s MMA scene, and the way that it's kind of building, and early Ultimate Fighter vibes, kind of when we're there all week and stuff like that. With your previous experience, obviously, being at SureDog, if people don't know what that was, at least of the era, the top like forum and way to get MMA information, if you wanted it, and it's what got me my first like place to train. As I met some dudes on SureDog on the forum and went and started training, and then kind of ended up here we are. So just with all that said, man, huge fan, obviously. What are some parallels that you kind of see, though, besides what was mentioned, maybe about those times and now?
Yeah, I think the best things in life we experience from the grassroots up. And I was lucky enough to be there with SureDog. I actually tried to do my first radio show for SureDog, and Jeff Sherwood, the founder and owner of the website, told me no. So I had to work for a website called InsideFighting.com for a year and a half before Jeff would hire me. Yeah, so I started doing internet radio before the word podcast was a thing. In 2004, in May in 2004, moved over to SureDog.com in December of 2005, and spent the better part of 12 years there. There are a lot of parallels when it comes to the growth and evolution of jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, and it's fun to be there for it, because the first ever EBI I commentated was EBI 3. And I remember Reddit was just killing me, because they were used to the previous commentators kind of calling it like golf, right? Like, he sets up from side here. Let's see what he looks to do. And then I'm like, sets up from side. He's going for an arm triangle. It is done. They're like, what are you doing, dude? You're screaming at us. It's like, I call MMA fights. Like, that's what I'm used to. And it is a fight. It should be exciting. No disrespect to anybody, but I don't want to put you to sleep with my, monotone voices. I mean, it should be exciting. If there is a finish, we should celebrate it like a knockout. And what was funny to me is on Reddit, people were like, this MMA guy sucks. And I was like, it was weird to me because like I started following MMA in 2002, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA were like the same thing to me largely. Like there was a movement between BJJ, MMA, and like K1 kickboxing. We were all part of a family. Yeah, we might be cousins, but we were all, under the same sort of umbrella. And when I got to EBI, it kind of became apparent to me that my idea of jiu-jitsu in the community wasn't necessarily as, seamless one-to-one with the MMA community. It had changed a bit. And I think sport jiu-jitsu has changed a lot compared to the early days of MMA and the Zuffa era around 2000, 2001. But now I think we're starting to see, well, I guess I can't say that things have changed. I think the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community is still different than the MMA community. Maybe they're just a little bit more tolerant of me, which I appreciate very much. Probably because it's so great to work with BMAC on the shows that I do. They realize that I'm not trying to be anything other than the hype man for Brandon McCatherine. So I think I've got some tolerance. I've got some goodwill built up with the people. But it is interesting to sort of see this community, which has been largely in the competition scene, Eddie Bravo talks about all the time, has largely been for the competitors themselves. Now we're starting to see an actual movement for fans. Like the rules for a very long time, Eddie has always said we're for the competitors themselves and not necessarily for the spectators. Well, now it's really all about the spectators because you can't get the type of paydays that you're getting in some of these big events without, selling tickets like ADCC does at T-Mobile or the investment, in PGF or the UFC putting, their money behind things like the Fight Pass Invitational. If you only, play to the competitors, that's not going to last very long. So I think we're starting to see, like you said, Stephen, sort of the Ultimate Fighter era, if you will, of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that's just exciting because if you remember the Ultimate Fighter era, it was a huge time for the UFC, but that was just the beginning. The tough boom was nothing like Brock Lesnar at UFC 100. It was nothing like Ronda Rousey changing the face of the sport. It was absolutely nothing like Conor McGregor. And if we get to those sort of seminal moments in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how people digest it here in the United States, it's going to be friggin' awesome. And I hope I'm, still allowed to be around in those times.
Do you think that's why it wasn't as popular because of the rules, the way that they had it set up, that it was just mainly for the fighters? That's probably what held it back.
Part of it is that, but I also think that you have to credit mixed martial arts to allowing the combat sports fan to actually appreciate combat sports. Like on Fight Pass this year, we started doing NCAA wrestling. And there are people that are just MMA fans that are watching wrestling for the first time because they know that wrestling is a cornerstone of a well-rounded mixed martial artist. And there's an appreciation for wrestling that they otherwise wouldn't have. For the longest time, I was just an MMA guy. I didn't really care much about boxing. Last week, I called boxing at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Like, I'm a boxing fan. I enjoy it. I appreciate it. And that's all because of MMA. While MMA is maybe this, blend of everything, it has allowed people to become a fan of that and then branch out to single discipline martial arts. And I think that's exciting. I never knew what Muay Thai kickboxing was prior to watching mixed martial arts. And I think Muay Thai is probably the most savage martial art competition you could ever watch. Like if you sit ringside for a Muay Thai fight and hear people kick each other in the stomach and like knee each other in the head, it sounds like watermelons. It's the grossest thing I've ever witnessed. And I love it. And it's all because of MMA.
How did you stumble into radio? Because I mean, you're good, man. Like you've been doing this for how long now?
I'm 40. I started in 99, so 24 years. I was 15 when I started interning for a morning show in Minneapolis. My favorite radio station was called 93.7 The Edge. It was an alternative rock station, and they decided to go to active rock, which was playing bands like Disturbed and Korn and Tool and things like that. And I called the new radio station, which was known as 93X, and told the DJ that he was stupid. Told him that the radio station was stupid. And he's like, "You're funny." And I became his intern. He got promoted to a morning show. And then somehow I convinced the Walt Disney Company to allow me to be on the radio from midnight to 5:30 in the morning while I was in high school. And I did that I did FM radio for the better part of 10 years and left that to talk about people beating each other up in the octagon in my parents' garage of all places. It made more
Hey,
money
that's
than
awesome.
FM radio. Like FM radio, unfortunately, is a dying industry. It's not even a dying industry. It's dead. You can make money being like a morning show host, but that's it, which is scary for me because this is all I got. So Fight Pass ever gets rid of me, it's like the PGF or bust. If BMAC gets rid of me, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably be that guy that's trying to wash your windshield when you stop at a stoplight.
Hey, listen, my windows need some cleaning, so I'll definitely throw you a couple of bucks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Fuck yeah. We got you, bro. We got you.
Eggie's saying that you were the youngest radio DJ in the country.
I was, yeah. Yep. It's true.
He's also spitting out facts over here.
Oh,
This
now
is
he's
like
just
a
over here.
private-
See, now he's just over here Googling all this ex parte shit going on.
The ex parte thing is a joke. Yeah, it's Egg likes to use big words, so sometimes we just throw them back at him.
Oh,
Yeah,
look
I
at he's back now because I said some shit. We can't
Is
hear
he saying
you.
I
something?
try to teach them occasionally.
Go back off.
That was weird. I heard him say I try to teach them occasionally, and then I just saw him giving the middle finger.
I think he's been learning from Elijah Carlton.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
have that
I
effect
believe-
on people.
I believe he said he has him as his first pick too. So
He doesn't look like it.
no, he's pretty upset
He's-
right now with us.
Who's your
Kidding us
first
with
pick,
that book.
Egghead? Tell us tonight, right now,
Yeah,
On-
tell us your
within
top
the-
five at least.
within the next 20 minutes.
How is my internet?
Why does
he
sound
how is
drunk?
my internet, man?
Bad.
Because he probably is.
Hello? It's me.
No, my
Don't show up that way. For
Oh man.
They
No,
want-
he hates us so bad.
He
It's
does.
not his fault. I get it. Trust me. That's the thing. Like I built a radio studio in my parents' garage, like I said, and it was in a time where none of this was made consumer wise. So like I looked at the radio station that I worked at and just said, okay, I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy that. And $20,000 later, I had a room that sort of worked. I needed a not to get too techy, but like I needed a board that you can create a mix minus from. And to make a mix minus, you need multiple buses. And to buy a 3-bus board, it was $11,000. But there was a $1,500 board that may or may not work in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So my dad drove from Minneapolis to Fort Wayne, Indiana to get this board that maybe worked. And thankfully it did. But we had to get a power supply from some dude in South Dakota. That thing didn't work because rats got inside of it and like ate it. And then I found another one on eBay. And long story short, technology is hard, and anybody that struggles with it, you should be nice to them because it's probably not their fault.
That's facts.
So-
I hate
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah, I know, but because it takes you what, like 30 minutes to just boot your computer?
I got here on time today, though.
And he came with notes.
I was trying to.
And with notes, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Let me see. Eggies, what the hell is he saying now? I fucking pay for fiber. Yeah, we know you pay for fiber.
But you
need
got
some
cable.
fiber in your diet, my dude.
He needs to do
So this is
something,
what
yeah.
sucks. My entire block was shut down this summer for them to put fiber optic cables in for internet. And for whatever reason, they still don't offer the service in my neighborhood. They just tore up my road for the entire summer. So yeah, I don't know.
That's
Fiber's the way
LA
to go.
for you,
though.
man.
Seems legit.
I live in Orange County. Don't say I live in LA. I don't live in LA.
Oh, my bad. You know, Mission Viejo. You know.
I mean,
That area?
I'm familiar with it. I don't make enough money to live there.
Oh, okay.
He's in the other side of
Oh.
Orange County.
North Orange
Shit.
County. Yeah.
I mean, I have a friend that lives out there, and he ain't rich.
That's
ma-
not true. Everyone is rich in California. Unfortunately, we're all poor because it takes every single dollar to live here.
Is that why you moved back, Steven?
That's literally, yes, exactly why we moved back. We had our 2 children and we're looking at house costs in San Diego and trying to figure out how that was ever going to balance out, and it just could not make the math out appropriately. So
Dude,
yeah.
if I had my income in Minneapolis, I could live in a palace. Instead, I live in a cardboard box here, pretty much. I'm not even kidding you. It's insane.
Well,
Yeah.
why don't, why
That was
don't
basically
you
the
move
decision to move back to
Minneapolis then?
Georgia. The same kind of situations. Like, yeah.
What's that, Walla?
You can move back to Minneapolis and
No,
travel when you got to work.
my wife wouldn't come with me if that's the case. My wife's from Iowa. She has a real job. I don't have a real job. She has a real job, and it's for a phenomenal company. So unfortunately, I'm stuck here in Southern California.
Yeah.
But I leave a lot, so I get on a plane for Mexico City tomorrow. So I'm
But is
hardly
she
here.
an icon of commentating in combat sports? I don't
What?
think so.
I mean,
Does she realize who her husband is?
Yeah,
she
I
doesn't.
know.
She absolutely does not care who her husband thinks he is. Because, yeah, she just likes to tell me, like, don't you speak for a living? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you would think you'd be a better communicator with me. I'm like, damn it, that hurts. You know, see, I forget to tell her that I'm leaving all the time. So I'll be packing my bag, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to Toronto. When? Tomorrow. What? Sorry. I forget these things.
Yes. That makes sense, though. How often do you travel?
It comes and goes. So for the last 2 years, I've been to every domestic UFC pay-per-view. So every numbered pay-per-view in the United States I've been to. So that equates to roughly like once a month. And then I do commentary for a variety of shows. So it works out to where I end up leaving sometime between every 3 and 6 weeks. 6 weeks is the long. Like I haven't been home on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday since Sean Strickland fought Dricus du Plessis, which was in January. I don't remember how long ago that was. One of those weeks I took a vacation with my family, so that doesn't kind of count. But yeah, it's been nuts lately.
Wow, that's insane.
And I hate flying. I'm the most nervous flyer you've ever met in your life.
Yeah, it's not the best time for that either. So no, I
I was just gonna make the joke.
Yeah, you know. Oh,
Miguelinho works for a company where a panel flew off a plane.
Allegedly.
talking about.
I'm
Allegedly,
familiar.
That happened to a lot of those. You know?
Yeah.
I've heard of
I
lots
mean,
of plane
you
doors
can't-
flying
you
off.
know.
Think about all the planes that didn't have any problems during those times. You know, it's fine. I'm getting
It's
on a
like,
plane
so,
tomorrow. It's safe.
Thousands.
Right? No. So one nice thing, right? Because of the like all the stuff going on, it is technically one of the safest time
yeah.
periods to fly. Right?
Yeah.
So at least we have that.
Yeah.
Not
Listen,
the best
I'm
way
with
of
it.
happening, but
Straight to Vegas. I'm flying in.
There you go. I'm gonna
just
drive
bring
to
a
Vegas.
parachute, man.
Let's
Worst
go.
case. You know.
So you know you were there
That'd
last
be a good
year.
video.
What are you looking most forward to this season?
The PGF finding its new identity. I think that's going to be sort of the curious thing, because I think we're going to find out that there's going to be a lot more bells and whistles. It's going to look and feel different, but at its core, it's going to be the same thing. And I think guys like Elijah Carlton are going to play off of that, and that's going to be to their benefit. And because at the end of the day, sports are sports, right? It doesn't matter if it's the NBA or if it's your pickup game at your community center. You're still playing basketball, and if you're good at basketball, you're going to be fine. And you know, maybe some people aren't used to playing this style of basketball. We're going to find out. We're going to find out who, you know, the marathon runners are when they otherwise might be sprinters. I'm excited to see that.
Yes. That's like
Yeah.
Steven?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So it's kind of like, you know, it was mentioned earlier, right? So what's really cool about this season, right? This is gonna be a change. You're gonna have these top level guys that, you know, like I said earlier, like, oh, I trained so hard, bro. This is nothing. But you know, this is gonna be different. You don't see it at this level. Like a lot of these guys train for that 10-minute round, typically ADCC rule set, right? With trials right now for a lot of folks. So, you know, they're gonna be possibly not prepared for this, right? And then what's cool is there's going to be a way bigger audience for this. So now this rule set's really going to be known to more folks. So it's going to be interesting, right? Like season 7 to see how these guys come in. You know, will they be more prepared? You know, we'll see. Maybe even for this coming season, right? Looking at season 5, being like, where did these guys mess up? What can I do to not have these mistakes? It's going to be fun how the game plan changes. As well.
And I think that the mental tax is a bit underestimated too by maybe someone coming in new, because it's one thing to go out there and win or lose or whatever, but it's another thing to go out there and maybe have 2 matches in one night where maybe you didn't get any points and you're headed into your 3rd match of the night and you desperately need points. Are you going to be able to stay composed? Are you going to chase submissions that aren't necessarily there? Like, what are you going to do to ensure that you have a productive day? Because that's something that I think is really interesting. We saw Max Jolly have one of his days were sort of a down day compared to a really hot start that he had, and he came back and made the adjustments. It's not just about winning or losing; it's about how you win. Because I mean, you might not get submitted, but if you don't get any points, depending on where you are in the standings, dude, that's a huge loss.
And so, actually, Biggie, sorry to just correct you on this. The ADCC trials are 6-minute matches, and so that's one of the interesting things about this is that it's half submission only the first 3 minutes, and then the second half 3 minutes is when the points kick in, and then there can be an additional 3-minute overtime period until the finals. Then it goes up to 8. But for most of these guys, they're prepping for like those 6-minute sub only 3 points for 3, which is interesting because you're probably a little reversed order of what you might want to be looking for in the PGF, because you may want to look for your control points a little earlier, perhaps, if you can't get the finish and score late with the kills or the breaks, because you can't get positional points here.
Exactly. So that makes it even more exciting then, honestly. Like I completely forgot. I was thinking of the later rounds, right? The fancier finale, I believe, is the traditional rule set. Yeah, I forget that the early on, right? And it's like that. So even then, it's still going to be a drastically different thing for some of these cats coming in, because I know there's a West Coast trials like this weekend, next weekend kind of thing.
Yeah, and some of the guys are talking about the weight class differences, perhaps.
Yes.
That they may have to be a little bit, somewhere closer to something else. So yeah, I think it's still something to consider. The guys who've been prepping exclusively, perhaps for maybe an ADCC run that they really believe in, and the guys who may be doing those ADCC trials to just maybe be doing them and looking at the PGF a little harder. I don't know if that's a choice someone's made or not, but if you're looking for the points, you're not going to win here. Like the traditional point style, it's not going to win. And it doesn't matter how good shape you're in. If you don't have the kill in the 6 minutes, if you can't get it done in 6 minutes, you can be in great shape and not be tired and still end up with no points. To TJ's point, after 2 of those, it starts feeling really crazy, and you start reaching for things, and then you may get beaten by somebody lesser than you because you're out there reaching now to try to grab something that's, and not there. So there's so many like storyline possibilities that exist with any of these athletes coming in. And the PGF vets have obviously the experience of knowing what they're kind of getting into. It's going to be crazy. I'm really just excited.
Are you saying that in those days where you were like, fuck, I got to get some points, that you were just pretty much abandoning your game plan and you were just like, I'm just going to try to get whatever I can?
I had to pretty much think about abandoning my typical game plan the whole season once I realized what was happening in the season, because I was coming from traditional EBI, mostly 10-minute rounds, doing EBI OT rounds every Monday night for hours, for weeks and months and years at a time in San Diego, to where, not necessarily looking to stall to get there, but it's like, hey, if we get to overtime, we're going to be fine. We'll get our looks at things to escape. Having guys like Boogie and PJ and those guys in the room a ton of times was a benefit for someone like me to have that. Going to the PGF, that was taken away from me. And I had to start sprinting against guys who were maybe built for that a little bit better at this current time than I was. So yeah, definitely there are a few matches that I can look back at and I didn't do maybe the best technical form that could have gotten me a finish, because I was just trying to like mash and like squeeze and press to get the force and when it wasn't really there. And I didn't have a ton of experience being that type of grappling.
So you were trying to sprint, but you're not a sprinter. You're just,
I mean, I had 19 professional MMA fights prior to switching over to doing jiu-jitsu exclusively.
You say 9 or 19?
19. So
09.
so I have a good MMA career ahead behind me before I even started doing like submission only jiu-jitsu tournaments and things like that, pretty much. So again, looking for control, looking for places to get to hit to finish. It's like, yeah, I can look to submit from here, but honestly, it's easier just to throw some punches until the referee's going to stop it from the same position rather than look to switch positions for an armbar or try to force a back take. If I can just like flurry until the referee's going to stop it. So you look for positional dominance as much as almost anything with it, with the grappling base of yesteryear, I guess, in MMA.
Right on. TJ, we keep talking about how you're this good, commentating or whatever. What's your martial arts background?
So I started posting at Shirt Art. So here's my MMA story. Let me do this. I went with a buddy of mine to a Hollywood Video because we wanted to rent a Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and they didn't have it. They didn't have the one we wanted. So we saw these UFC tapes, and we did the next logical thing when they don't have the wrestling tape you want. Let's get a UFC tape that has the most amount of wrestling people we know. So we found a tape that had both Ken Shamrock and Tank Abbott on it. And we watched a couple of those. I saw Tank Abbott knock out Steve Nelmark and basically show me my first dead body. That was crazy. And then we ended up like going down the line, and I saw a fight between Frank Shamrock and Kevin Jackson. And again, we were out of order, so I didn't see UFC 1. So like, I mean, I did eventually, but like my first UFC was like Ultimate 95 or something like that. And I saw Frank Shamrock armbar Kevin Jackson in 22 seconds. And I was like, what was that? I don't know what that is. That was amazing. And I sort of fell in love with jiu-jitsu because of that. Then, I do the next logical thing. I've already watched the video, so I'm going to go buy the video game. So I bought UFC Throwdown, I think it was called, for the PlayStation 2. They didn't have one of my favorite fighters in it, Don Fry. So I had to create Don Fry. Well, to figure out how tall Don Fry is, I got to go to Google and type in how tall is Don Fry. That brought me to this thing called the Sherdog.com Fight Finder. And then that brought me to the forums. And then that brought me to connecting with a pal of mine that I had previously known, but had kind of lost touch with because we both went to like local rock shows. And he had a radio show about like the local rock scene. And I worked for the rock station in town. And he invited me to come to this gym that I guess you would call it an MMA school. Primarily their martial art was like a modified catch wrestling. It definitely wasn't jiu-jitsu because I trained there for the better part of 4 years. Thought I was pretty good. Almost had a pro MMA fight. Thank God that didn't happen. It was against a guy named Sean Nolan, who today I think is like 5-44. So I either would have been his 6th win or his 45th loss. But I rolled with a blue
I like your
belt.
odds.
Yeah, I rolled with a blue belt and found out that I don't have any technique, that I suck. So I promptly stopped training and focused on my MMA radio show because it hurt a lot less.
Well, damn, I mean, you didn't give it a chance.
So Ultimate was your first one, you said?
Yeah, Ultimate 95 or 96, whatever one's Steve Nelmark and Tank fight at.
Is that the one Severn won?
I don't remember.
I think he won Ultimate.
I think it was Don Fry. I think Don Fry fought Tank in the finale, and Tank stepped on Don Fry's foot and fell down and got finished. But Fry still went to the hospital because everyone who fought Tank went to the hospital.
Back in those days, yeah.
Yeah.
Steven fought Dan Severn.
I almost fought Sean Nolan on a show where Dan Severn was the main event.
Oh,
Yeah,
it may have
that
been
was
the
it.
same show.
So
No.
Ultimate Tank beat Steve Jenham, and then Dan decision Tank Abbott, and then he beat Oleg Taktarov in the finals.
Steve Jenham or Steve Nelmark?
It says Jenham on
Yeah,
Wikipedia.
no, it's Ultimate 96. That's where a Tank beats Steve Nelmark.
96.
And
Okay,
then
so
at
it's
the
96
main
that I
event
watched.
was Don Fry.
Yeah, he
Tank
was
Abbott.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he said either 95 or
close.
96.
Or
It's
96,
just in
yeah.
my mind, I was stuck on Severn because you said wrestlers that fought, and so I was wondering, like, did he he got in the WWF because of his UFC fighting, I think, right?
Yeah.
Not the other way around, kind of, or anything like that. So
Ken Shamrock did do some pro wrestling before he did UFC, I believe.
I think it was
I
in
think so
Japan,
too.
right?
Pancrase stuff like that. He and Frank, they were all kind
Yeah.
of dabbling over there.
Yeah, he was billed as Vince Torelli, I believe, is what Ken Shamrock's wrestling name was. Because like apparently Ken Shamrock's not good enough. Like, what are you talking about? That's a great name. Yeah, billed as
Maybe he
Vince
just
Torelli,
didn't want people to have like a track record of his name being, kayfabe.
I guess.
They needed an Italian guy, bro.
Yeah, it's true. I'm an Italian guy, allegedly. I'm about as Italian as the Olive Garden.
Now, you obviously follow wrestling. You have a podcast, the Laps Fan. Well, you produced a podcast.
I edit an 8-hour-long podcast about pro wrestling. Yes.
So, where did that? I mean, how did you get involved in wrestling? I mean, with wrestling.
As long as I can remember, it was around like when I was a kid. I for whatever reason, like my
Minnesota.
parents either stole it from the video store, or the video store went out of business after we rented WrestleMania 2. So that was like the first tape I ever had, and I watched that over and over and over again. And I went to all these house shows as a kid. We didn't get a
Those are
pay-per-view.
fun.
We didn't get a pay-per-view until like 1999, which I got kicked out of. I got kicked out of SummerSlam 1999.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. The radio station had complimentary
Right.
tickets, and it gave me a pair of tickets. Unfortunately, Ticketmaster had sold those tickets as well. So I go into the Target Center in Minneapolis and sit down in my seat. And before the show even starts, someone says, "You're in my seat." I look at it. We both have the same ticket stub. I get kicked out and had to call my friend's mom to come pick us up. But I did get to see the Big Boss Man and Al Snow wrestle outside of the Target Center, and the Big Boss Man pushed me out of the way and left a sweat stain on my khaki shorts, which was pretty rad. There's my lame claim to fame.
And so
Speaking of Al-
Minneapolis though was like a hot territory though, right? Before
yeah.
all the buyouts and stuff.
So-
was that before you
the
were
Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
My
you know?
parents' first date was they went to the matches for the AWA, which was Vern Gagne's promotion at the St. Paul Civic Center. Why my dad thought it would be a good idea to take my mother to a professional wrestling event on their first date, I will never know. But I will
Bro, that
say,
sounds pretty romantic.
I mean, this is weird. This has nothing to do with one another. I didn't find this out until after the fact, but I got married where Vern Gagne's house used to be. If you don't know, Vern Gagne was like a guy that should have probably been NWA champion. He wasn't. Started his own league, but he had a mansion on Lake Minnetonka, which they turned into a regional park, and I ended up getting married there. And because of the Laps Fan, I found out that was Vern Gagne's house. But yeah, so the Laps Fan came about because I did I'm on my radio show on Sherdog. I had a guy named Jack Encarnacio as a co-host, and Jack is amazing at research. He used to work for like all the big Boston papers, the Herald, the Globe. And he applies his research expertise to fake sports and finds out a lot of really crazy ass information about pro wrestling. And like he recently found out, do you guys know Virgil? You know,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Million
that
Dollar-
was recently passed. Yeah.
yeah.
So Jack found out that Virgil lied about his birthday. And like, long story short, the reason he lied about his birthday is because he was put in jail for 4 years for heroin trafficking, and no one knew that
Oh,
before.
shit.
And Jack just found it out. Crazy. So that's the type of stuff they're capable of doing. And the other guy, JP Sorrow, does basically does the best voices you've ever heard on demand. He can do any pro wrestling voice for the most part.
The skits and things are they're pretty good.
Yeah, it's insane. And every podcast episode is like, I don't know, between 6 and 11 hours. So they're like little audiobooks, and I have to edit it.
Do you still follow wrestling or no?
No,
Nah.
no. I'll pay attention to like Shayna Baszler, like friends with Shayna. Like I appreciate her style. She tries to take real catch wrestling moves and make them into
Yeah.
pro wrestling. I interviewed Becky Lynch 2 days ago. That was crazy.
How was that? I mean, was she
That's cool.
or-
I've only seen her
Yeah.
wrestle one match, and it was against Shayna. And I was hoping Shayna went over, and she didn't. So I don't know a whole lot about Becky Lynch, but basically I interviewed her. She has a book coming out, but I interviewed her about, wrestling Ronda and the women's movement and things like that. So, yeah, I end up paying attention a lot more than I want to. Like, I'll watch any shoot wrestling interview on YouTube. I'll watch like WrestleMania or whatever, like Botchamania, all that. Like I'm addicted to that, but I'm not necessarily sitting in front of my television on Monday nights. It's not for me. Like, once you see what real fighting looks like, it's hard for me to actually watch wrestling matches. Like, I remember when we first started doing the Laps Fan, we were on a website that was owned by the same parent company of Sherdog, and we started doing these post-fight or post-wrestling match events. And it was like this SummerSlam where John Cena wrestled, I don't know, I think it was Rusev or somebody. And he put him in a crossface, and like he just slowly nuzzled Rusev's nose in the crook of his elbow, and it's just like that's not hurting him. I can't watch this. I know that doesn't hurt, and but anytime.
But it could though.
Yeah, sure. Yes,
it could.
The plane door might fall off on my flight tomorrow. It could. It's not
statistically.
going to. It's probably not going to. But like
John Cena will crack your face more than the plane door will fall off. Statistically,
I have real beef with John Cena, by the way.
Oh, what did he do?
Voiceovers, way too many voiceovers. His voiceovers are doing it like John Cena does not have a particularly great voice, but he's doing voiceovers. He's taking away work from people like me who have an ugly face but a semi-decent voice. Because that's the thing. Look at what we're doing right now. This used to be a radio show. You know what you couldn't do in a radio show? Look at me. Now everything's television. I hate it. You can't see me. I saw that. You can see me, and that's the problem.
Well, listen, I changed my glasses because I thought you were stylish. I was like, yo, TG's looking good. I'm going to go get some Ray-Bans. And I did. And now you flipped the script on me again.
I want to. This was a Zenny order gone wrong. I didn't actually order these red. They just came that way. You think I'm kidding?
Just staying ahead. That's all he's doing.
Dude, no, it picks you, man. Like, because I tried getting some Adidas, and I was like, I do not look like TG. I got to take these off, man. I was I felt it. I was hyped, and I was like, let me not do this.
Something bad happened lately. Last week, I bought a fresh new pair of Adidas for this Madison Square Garden show I did on St. Patrick's Day, and they were green. I wanted to wear green, and my wife informed me that I now own double the amount of shoes that she does, and that's probably a problem. So. But I don't know. We don't really talk other than when I'm going to the airport and I tell her I'm leaving. So,
seems legit though. You need lots of shoes, man.
I need something.
Look good and feel good. Perform well. Whatever people say.
I mean, sure.
Whatever she needs to know.
Exactly.
So you said that you can't watch wrestling because it's not real, whatever. So what did you think when Ronda went and wrestled?
I never saw any of her wrestling matches.
Oh, okay.
I watched Shayna's, and I didn't watch her and Shayna wrestle. I heard it was not great, unfortunately. It's like
she's tagging up with I think it's Zoe something. Who? I forgot her last name.
Stark.
They're doing like the tag team thing.
I think Shayna's been like tag team champion a bunch, right? I think.
Maybe NXT. I haven't seen her.
No, she was WWE tag team champion.
Her and Ronda were champions together.
I think she was champion with somebody else too. But anyway, what I wanted and what I thought would bring me back was I thought we were going to get a Owen and Bret Hart type rivalry between Ronda and Shayna, and we never got it, and that was unfortunate.
Do you know what brought me back? Like full on. We went to Royal Rumble. I went with Boogie and Gio and our friend Night Pigeon. Can't remember his actual name right now because all I talk about is on his Instagram. But we went to Royal Rumble last year, and just having fun with the boys, like selling, for the show, just being there, happy to be there. But after Rhea Ripley won the Royal Rumble, she was coming back down the aisle, and we were close enough to kind of be like right there. and Gio was like right there trying to give like 5 to her, and she came up like she was about to do it, and then she just like flicked him off and spun around, and that was it.
That's great.
I was in. I was like, she has no clue who this is, and she just like did that. And
Yeah.
to me, standing here, this is blowing my fucking mind, and I love this.
So that's what I will say. Like good heel work, I'll watch that all day. But it's the actual match that I have a hard time watching. The promos, all of that stuff. Like also, there's a great possibility for like a jiu-jitsu badass to come in to the WWE and just choke everyone unconscious and make people believe that this guy's going off script, because that's the best time in wrestling. If you look at like when wrestling was big, the NWO, people were calling the police in like Florida when the WCW would roll the town. The NWO would throw Rey Mysterio into the side of a trailer like a dart, literally calling the police department. People
That
thought
shit
it
was
was
scary.
People thought it was real when CM Punk was gonna, allegedly leave with the belt, and he had to defend it against John Cena, and if he was gonna go off script, yada yada yada.
Listen, we didn't have a lot of internet, man, and so when Hulk Hogan turned on the Macho Man, I had some real like character issues that I was trying to struggle with myself at that point. Young man who grew up on the prayers and vitamins out there in the Bible Belt. I thought we were all doing something different until that moment, and so I just had to really reflect on a bunch of things.
Oh, I get it. I get it. And but that's the thing. Like, if you had a dude that came in and was just choking everybody out, that might get people interested. We need a jiu-jitsu guy in pro wrestling.
Well,
I'm available.
You have to work on your promos, bro.
What?
No. Actions speak louder than words. They'll give him a guy to do his promos. He just needs to choke people unconscious, preferably against their will, to make the dirt sheets start writing a bunch of stuff.
Throw me in the bloodline. I need Paul Heyman, I guess. I mean, if somebody's gonna speak for me, I need somebody that's like the GOAT. I don't want some bullshit guy.
I got Paul Heyman's number.
Let's go.
Oh,
I'm ready.
Yeah, we had Paul Heyman come in studio for Bruce Buffer's podcast because when he would like introduce Brock Lesnar, he was ripping off Buffer, and those were his words. And we had him on Bruce's podcast. That was pretty awesome.
I bet that guy's been around forever too.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, that dude. He's seen a lot and done a lot throughout the sport and entertainment.
ECW days,
the business, if you will.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
so what was that like? Was Buffer like, hey, what's up, bro? You're stealing my shit. You want to fight about this or throw me some bucks off of it? Or what?
I mean, Bruce is always looking for likeness rights. I'll just leave it at that. But no, they were cool.
Listen, I feel you. People are like, you should do it like Bruce Buffer does and say what he says. And it's like, no, I don't think you legally. I don't think legally I should do that.
Just don't say, let's get ready to, and you'll be fine.
I'm not getting ready to do anything.
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to go. Believe it or not,
I was just gonna say we're final thing on the PGF. What do you expect as far as the drama? Do you see any of these guys getting chippy?
I mean, yeah. I mean, they got chippy before, and there was nowhere near the prize money. What do you think $100,000 for the winning team's going to do? Expect all the chips.
Hey, we're putting the chips on the line in Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Bring Paul Heyman
for joining us and just chatting with us. We just wanted to talk to you a little bit about season 5 and season 6. We're fans, obviously. So
straight up.
Now that we have the connect with BMAC, we wanted just to shoot the shit with you just a little bit. So thank you for coming on and hanging out with us. We appreciate it.
Hey, can I just want to say these couple of things really quick about that same
thing?
Go ahead. For you, TJ, you mentioned like working with BMAC and stuff like that, like getting to see him work with you, my friend, and all the get the rub and like working with you. You're the man, dude. Like a lot of people, you are the voice of a lot of combat sports to a generation of us. So, dude, having you around, being there, and seeing all this stuff has been nothing but like tons and tons of fun. So, we are happy to have you here. And I'm normally like in bed and stuff at this point, but they're like, TJ is going to come on at 11 And I was like, shit, I'm gonna have to do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm like up and ready for this one because I definitely don't want to miss it. So
Well, that means a lot to me.
stoked,
Thank
man.
you. Thank
For
you.
sure,
'Cause
dude.
this is like a thankless sort of job, at least the way that I do it. Everyone else has got their gimmick and their bit, and I'm just trying to make the guy sitting to my left and right when Egghead's there look better than they would otherwise if I wasn't. And I think I do a decent job. And I never thought I would like BMAC. When I met BMAC in Austin at the first EBI we did together, it was like 5 minutes into meeting him, and it's like this guy sings constantly. He's constantly singing. This is going to be terrible. And no offense to Egg or anybody else that I work with. There's no one I'd rather sit next to on fight night, whether it's MMA, whether it's grappling, whether it's Parcheesi. I don't even know what Parcheesi is, but I would call it with Brandon McCaffrey.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are friends because you're in the PGF as the commentator, and we love that
Yes.
shit.
We love it.
All right. Thank you. I got to go interview an up and coming mixed martial artist now.
Tell
All
him
right,
to say hi.
All right.
Go do your thing, man. Thank you so much again.
Thanks,
We
guys.
appreciate you.
See you in Vegas.
See you,
Safe
dude.
travels, brother.
Yes, Vegas.
I don't know how
All
I did the
right.
confetti, bro. That was wild.
Hold on.
I've never seen
Go
the
again.
confetti.
Hey, look, the little hearts. All right, now we're just being dorks.
Right.
Hey, man, that was TJ DeSantis.
Bro,
TJ, motherfucking
it's-
DeSantis.
That was
It's-
fucking cool.
I know, right? It's like
I had to give the man his
bro.
flowers right there at the end
Yeah,
because
right.
I feel
No,
I
dude,
felt
that was
the way
super
he spoke about himself and stuff a little bit. I was like, bro, you don't know who you are, huh?
Right, dude.
Like-
when he did like talking about his first
He
EBI,
no
he was
sold
like,
it. I was like,
bro.
what?
The way he did that, I was like, oh, my heart started pumping.
Listen,
Man,
guys,
I-
thank you so much for joining. We appreciate y'all. We were, we're just fans of TJ and the work that he does. So we just wanted to, talk to him for a minute because he's part of the PGF, a big part of the PGF
Yes.
now.
For sure.
And he's
Listen,
family.
the queue it up the between matches and things like that last season.
was
We
smooth.
got into like a rhythm of where
Yep.
it was like didn't even have to like point and things like that. And like dude's a true professional, so it was nice to
Yes.
be able to sit there and like watch him and Brandon, who
Yep.
both know how to operate this thing together. So to see that and just to kind of feed off of that a little bit was man, that was huge for me.
This
So
dude's magic, dude.
yeah, for
Again,
sure.
seeing you kill it, man. I was like, man,
It's for the
different
bros,
versus
man.
seeing on
It's all for
stream
the
and seeing
bros.
online.
Listen, I
Woo.
can't see the crowd. I can't see the people online streaming it.
Mhm.
I can't see anybody else. But y'all.
Man.
So if y'all are not getting hyped, if the boys aren't into it, if the bros aren't there getting like lit on the sides, it's hard for me to like do it. So when I see y'all get hyped for something,
Dude, it was.
I'm going hard next time for sure.
It
So
was
I
electric,
think
man.
that's what made me like him about his commentating is that he gets excited.
Bro,
I love
he was so
it
good.
when Brandon gets excited calling a match because I know
Mhm.
something's going down. Even if I'm just like on the side doing something, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, the
something's
fact, no,
going down.
exactly. The fact that you're there, you get just as excited as you do on a stream with this guy there, like just commentating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's how good he is.
And now
really
we
a
have that in the
professional.
PGF. We have some comments out here,
And
they're
Egghead.
all from Sawdog.
then we
Saw
got
Dog.
Egghead.
Yeah, he was just talking
Okay.
about just John
Saw
Cena
Dog.
stuff eventually too.
Let's
You know,
see.
Being
Trying to
chilling.
steal your-
You ain't never STFU'd nobody Griff Jitsu.
Let's see.
Saw dog.
Look at that. John Cena sold out to China. He said the man issued an apology to the Chinese government for
You don't want China
recognizing
coming after you, bro.
he wants to
Why
get that
you-
Chinese paper
That's
dollar.
like 1 billion people or something. You don't
Bro, he
want
wants to
that.
get their paper too, man. Stack up. That's why he did the ice cream thing, the Bing Chuling. It's a real thing.
The
Look it up,
what?
guys. John Cena did a commercial for some Chinese ice cream. He's eating it, speaking like I
doing
guess
those
Mandarin, I don't know.
voiceovers like
And
TJ
he was like,
said,
bro. He's like,
taking all our money.
Bing
We
Chili.
just,
Bing
we
Chili.
just lost the egg. I guess
Finally.
he's like, my boyfriend gone, I'm gone.
Don't be mad tomorrow, Egg.
Yeah, listen.
I had to get up. My
Yeah.
internet. I pay
not
for
ex-
fiber.
It's not ex parte if you can watch it back tomorrow.
Hey. Man.
People that are watching this, they're like, what the
They're like,
fuck
what
are
the
they
fuck are they
talking
talking
about?
about?
They have
You know, I
no
thought we were
clue.
off air just like until just now.
You know
Oh,
what?
no,
Let's just talk off
let's
air
do
for
that.
a minute.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning
Thanks,
in
guys.
and hanging out with us, chatting with TJ DeSantis. We're
Well,
just some dorks, you know.
These last 3 to
and
5 minutes were my true feelings, and whatever I said, I mean it.
Hasta la
Work out.
próxima.